So with the berries that I showed you how I made, other live, I've got some here. If you want, you can just use the green. That would work really well for a branch that is less dry, has more leaves probably. But during the fall, what we find is a lot of leaves fall out and everything's just fading away. Everything turns brown. So what I'm doing here is I am finishing this stem with a little bit of brown crepe paper. And I should say this brown crepe paper is fantastic in that it has a lot of strength to it. Sorry, a lot of strength to it without it breaking too much. And yes, Bonnie, I normally do have wet wipes here, but not right now, not today. So, but yeah, you're totally right. Wet wipes are amazing. I usually have them in my workshops so that my students have clean hands to attach everything. Otherwise, it's not fun. Everything gets stuck on your hands. So for these ones, I'm only going down about a centimeter half, 2 centimeters. And that's because it's going to be attached together anyways. So I generally don't go all the way down because there's no point. So with some glue, I just go down. Sometimes I just push it up because it's sliding off. So here we go. And with my last one, just gonna do this. And I am going to decide as I finish this up, I'm going to decide where I'm going to put these berries. Oh gosh, this thing is just sliding. Okay, so where am I going to put these berries? I've got here, I've got 6 of them, sticky fingers, 6 of them, and I'm just going to decide where I'm going to place them. I do want to place one here at the tip. Do I want a heavier look or do I want a lighter look? I think I'm going to go with lighter, so I'm going to put 1 here, and then I've got 5 here. Simple. Why don't we do 3 and 2? 3 and 2. Or you could do like a 2 and then 1 and then like 2 there. See what that looks like. So I'm going to, with this one, I'm going to, I might as well just finish, well, actually let's do the small one. Let's do the small one with these ones. Should I do a small one here? No, let's do a small one here. So this one I'm going to do for 3. I'm going to put 3 together. I'm just going to bend it slightly, put some glue on it, and wrap it. And then I'm going to add another one to it, like this. And I'm going to glue it and wrap it. Down. And then I'm going to trim it, because I don't need it that long. So this I find, it's not a big deal if you don't, if it's not a big deal if it's blunt here with 3 stem wires. What I've found is because of the thickness of these branches, it's really easy to hide it. It doesn't really get lumpy. But you can experiment with how you want to do it. This is my way of doing it. It's just quick and easy. Okay. So this one I'm going to stick right here. It's a really gnarly part. I think I'm going to go down like this. So when you do attach it, think about how you're looking at it. Is it going to be like this? Is it going to be like this? Is it going to be like this? It's a little bit hard to see since I'm shooting down, and it's probably easier to see if I was shooting this video sideways so that you could actually see based on what it looks like facing the ground. But I mean, I probably would put it this way. So for example, I would have the vase here, and then this is shooting up, and I would have it like this. So I would want the berries to kind of hang low so that they look heavy. They look like they are about to drop on the ground. But I'm also very cognizant of the fact that if I look this way, I see a lot of branch. So I'm going to try to cover it as much as possible so that we don't see as much of the branch, and yet I can still bend it towards the ground if I want to, as I am putting it together as an arrangement. So you see here, you don't really see or notice any lump. I think it's just because the branch itself is pretty lumpy. Well, it's not lumpy, but it's not super thin to the point where every attachment you make will be noticeable. So not every stem that's attached will be noticeable. So something like this. And it's coming down, so I'm just going to move this down a little bit like that, so that on the side, when it's viewed, it looks like this. Does that make sense? Like that. I'm going to cluster it in like that. So I've got 3 here. I'm going to attach a leaf. So I've got these leaves pre-made. A couple of them fell. Pre-made leaves in different sizes. They are laminated, so they hold their shape. You see. And for this one, I wanted that to happen. I wanted them to hold their shape before I actually put it into or onto the branch. It just creates more visual interest. So these ones here, I don't really mind if the branches are green, but if you've got stem wire that is brown, you can use that too. So same thing, I'm gonna go with a thinner strip. And it's really important that you do stick with thinner strips for pieces like this. It's just a lot easier to secure the leaves and the berries. It's a lot neater. It makes for a much smoother branch. So this one here, I'm just going to take a look at this. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece here. I do like to cluster my leaves with my berries. I think the color looks amazing like that. Versus a piece that's here, you don't really see it together as much. But you do have to be cognizant of the relationship between where this leaf might be versus the leaf up here. So I'm just gonna go here, and I'm gonna put it on this side. Like that. Just gonna spread the glue a little bit. My lazy way of doing it. Oops. This one I'm just going to move this over to the side like that. Alright, so then this comes out like this. I would hold it if it's not, if the glue's not dry yet, hold it and then reshape it. So this one goes like this now. I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to show you how I color these. So this I'm going to a little bit shorter, and then I'm going to take a small short piece of this. So wrap it around a little bit. Actually, this was not done, so I'm just going to go back to it. And this one I'm going to make sure that I am doing it the right way. Nope, it's not this way. This way here. So that the spiral is exactly the same in terms of which way I've been gluing the strip. So like this. This one might come back down. Put more glue on it. And I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to put it below like this. Press. This one I might actually need to. It's really long. I'm just going to chop this off. This off like this. Put glue on it and wrap it around like this. So I'm missing a section here. So I will have to go back and fix that. But if I'm going to add a leaf as well, I am actually going to do it together at the same time. So I'm going to, I think I might want the leaf. Let's see here. I want the leaf on this side, I think. This side and here. So, come up like this. Put this leaf here, right, and then we come back down. And I'm faking this one in the sense that when I was coming back down, it was going the opposite direction. And so at the bottom, I tried to mitigate that by coming back up. Okay, so there we go. We have something like this. So once you glue it, then you can kind of move it around. This I'm going to bend down like that. So this piece here needs to be glued better. Really get in there to like make sure that it really conforms. And this one here, I'm just gonna fix it like that. Okay. So then we've got something like this. Going around like that. And next I'm gonna show you how to color it. So how I color it, I'm just going to move everything, is I use my pan pastels to do that. But you really could use any kind of pastels. My students always use pastels in the stick form, and then what we do is we shave it, and then they use a brush or a foam applicator to apply it. If you do have pan pastels, great. These two are the colors I use for this, and I color both the leaves and the stems with it. I've got this small brush here. It's a makeup brush. It's one of those brushes that come with, so this one is the Body Shop. I think they come as a kit. They were probably for free, and I hadn't used these for my makeup. And then when I was looking around, found them, and then threw them in my studio case, and I ended up using them a lot. And I like them because they're tiny, they're small, they're not fancy, and I can hold them like this when I paint. So I've got two pan pastel colors. This one is the Permanent Red in Extra Dark. It's essentially a brown with a little bit, it's like a chestnut brown, I would say. So it has a little bit of redness to it. And actually, it seems like there's a little bit of speckles of red as well. And then this one here is the Bright Yellow Green Extra Dark. So most of my coloring, I use two colors because that's the only way I can get the same depth of feel that I want. So for this, I'm just going to start with the leaves first. You do have the option of coloring the leaves before you apply them, or before you stick them on. It's definitely a way to go. And these are not, they're not edited at all. So I'm just going to take a pair of scissors and I'm just going to nick them a little bit. And by nicking, all I do is I take it and I pull it. Nothing fussy. But, oh, this one's done. Okay, I'll leave that. So I'm just going to go back and do that. And then where I've nicked it, you can kind of just go over it a little bit. A little bit of that. And if I see it's a little bit too red, I just go back with the green. And these already have shape because they were laminated and I shaped them while they were wet. And that's why they're like this. So for the rest of the branch, what I like to do is I like to look at it and then determine, well, which side will the light hit it? In this case, I've got light hitting it from this side, and that's because it's coming down like this. So then what I want to do to emphasize it is to color on this side here. So I like to use both. So you see here, there's a little bit more of the brown, and then I go back I literally color it with the green. Color it all with the green. That, and so when you look at it now, you can see that it has a little bit more of depth to it. You don't necessarily have to stick to one side. I think it's nice to kind of look at it and be like, well, what side looks like it needs a little bit of coloring. Oh, I gotta trim those. So probably the armpits. I like to call them armpits. Essentially, wherever there might be an intersection, that's the perfect place to add some depth. That's where your eye's going to go, to those gnarly, big gnarly parts. Not necessarily the tip, but the tip, you should add a little bit to it. Adding a little bit of green to it. Just going to add a little bit darker to it. And here, I'm just going to add a little bit. So I'm not being super careful about this. Sometimes what I will do is, I find a foam applicator. I'll take a foam applicator and I'll run it over to remove some of it. Just softens it a bit. But, you know, I'm not being super careful with it. I'm just kind of mixing the colors as I go. If it's too dark, just wipe it off. It's going to leave, wow, this has never happened before. It's going to leave some residue. So it'll be a lot less effortless looking, a little bit more like just the trick of the eye, really. Okay, so I'm going to do the other side. This, mind you, this is a side that I likely won't see because it's going to be at the bottom. But I mean, as a completed piece, you might as well do some of it. Right? So here, I'm just going to add some detail to where the berries and the leaves sit. That's because that's where your eyes are going to be drawn. That's where it matters. This bottom part, I wouldn't spend too much time on it. It's probably not going to be seen very much. Okay, so we've got something like this now. So on the tip, it depends on what you want to do. These tips are very small, so it's not a big deal. But if you've got like a tip like this fat one, you want to spend some time on it. These ones, I wouldn't. Nobody's going to really notice it. Maybe this one here, it's a little bit more fat. So you may want to spend a little bit of time adding a little bit of depth to it, coloring a little bit so it looks like so it looks kind of a little bit more natural. There we go. So when you look at it now, you'll see that I've got these little bits that I'm going to have to trim off. I think they're glue. You'll see my light is coming from this side. But there's more dimension now that I added color to this side here, right? This is where the shade, this is the dark side, this is the light side, and you'll see that there's highlights. And the highlights come naturally because of my coloring. Get rid of that a little bit more. Because of the coloring. So, yeah, so this is how I color it.